Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mission Yozakura Family Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Fact of the matter is, our boy Taiyo doesn't get a break. He literally gets a couple hours, got back home, immediately passed out, which is so interesting. I mean, to be fair, shonen protagonist situation of living alone. I wonder, how does he pay for that house? How does that work? I wonder, was it already paid for, or does he have a side? Once again, there's probably things like that you'll probably never get an answer to, but I am curious about that because he was just living on his own. But yeah, he only had a couple hours before he wakes up to being attacked by Kiyoshiro. Because it's all part of his training. It's like, right, as a spy, you gotta sleep with one eye open type of thing. And it's like bending him with all the wires and making him stretch and putting him through hell. Luckily, Mutsumi was there cooking and was able to kind of shut that down. But then also, Taiyo's house immediately explodes because obviously the main target is Mutsumi, because word has gotten out. They knew to go after Taiyo because word has gotten out about their engagement. Because it's not even an engagement. They are officially without the ceremony and everything, just putting on the ring, it makes them legally husband and wife. But the fact of the matter is, it turns out that this bomber is after them because, we learned the ins and outs of the Yozakura family situation. And I'm assuming because all of this is specifically their family circumstance, I'm sure it works differently in other family circumstances. Like I said, it definitely, I brought this up last episode, gives me so much like Katekyo Hitman Reborn vibes. And I'm sure the same thing's going to happen there because you had multiple mafia families duking it out, each with their own circumstances and people. So I'm assuming we're going to get a similar thing in this regard of you get just freelancers coming after them because it's hey, people who have beef with us, people who are envious of us are trying to kill Mutsumi because she's the head of the family. So begs the question, what happened to her parents? Are they not around either? Did Taiyo already know that? Because he doesn't bring up the conversation, so he must already know that she doesn't have I'm curious because we still don't know how much Taiyo really... Well, we know he knew nothing about, for one, the multitude of siblings she has, and obviously her family circumstances as spies, but, how much of just the, facade did Mutsumi put up that he knew about? They're oh, did he know her parents are gone, and maybe she had a sibling or two looking after her? Because even Taiyo recognizes, maybe that correlates to that... they've known each other long before his family ended up dying, so... It still begs the question. I guess, once again, it's just she was very good at just keeping him away because, once again, no one knows what her circumstances are unless they need to be in the know, like Taiyo currently has to be in the know. Also, his house blowing up. He took that in stride. I don't know if that's just the anime calmness, because, he's freaking out about other things, but he was super calm about his house exploding. It's I guess it's the biggest thing I'm worried about is Mutsumi's okay, so I guess that's all that matters. But yeah, but like I said, we learn about the family circumstances of the Yozakuras always have a head of the family. It's interesting to find out the head of the family is always ordinary. Granted, they hold the genes of the Yozakura family in them. So it is kind of they have to survive to kind of pass on those genes. Because those genes don't pass on to them, but at least to other people in the family who have supernatural abilities. Which made me go, wait, so is that implying they actually are blood related? They actually are blood sin? Because I was, once again, last episode, under the impression, is this a makeshift family? How do you join this? Is it a situation of... I almost wonder, are there, subsections of the family and each member's kind of, the head of their family type of... that's what I was wondering, for example, is Shion, And I was about to say, I don't think it works like that, because it does seem like it's just one, family. So I'm what about Shion's family circumstances? Are her... siblings, parents not, or how does that work? We got the bare, but I'm curious how much this story will cover stuff like that, because I'm the person with a million questions about how stuff works, and I'm always finding it fascinating, but sometimes stories just don't feel the need to go into depths. It's why get too deep? It might be something that it's not pertinent now, but might be more pertinent storytelling wise later, but because that's what I was about to say. Could it be they are all blood siblings, but maybe half siblings? Maybe her dad like Mitsumi's dad had children with so many other women, and that ends up leading to all the other people having the supernatural abilities they are. Because I kind of put Shion and Shinzo at the same, but I think it's more like Shinzo's like almost like the weapons dude. Like it does seem like some of it overlaps with tech, but it seems like Shion's mainly the tech person, but Shinzo seems to be like the guns and stuff. Just because like we saw like some of the like opening credits and stuff showed him with like multiple guns and stuff. So, which I should also note. Two things. One, I think the opening with them all in a car is super adorable, and I love that it's like, of course, it's Kiyoshiro who's the one that has to get booted out of the car and has to run after it, along with some other people. I guess those are some allies we're going to get later on. But I also really love the ending, how it's stylized as like a video game, especially like, oh, the character select. I was like, that's actually really, like, it's just aesthetically cool, especially because it's like very pixelated in a lot of ways, kind of like mimicking like a old school, like, pixel sprite art type of video, well, not sprite art, but pixel art a video game, which I thought was kind of neat. But either way, this is where like I said, circling back to like, you know, moving past my tangents, Taiyo now understands kind of what this is all about. And while he's in the process of learning about it, they get attacked by random people. And I love that we find out that Goliath is the getaway driver. I'm like, okay. I was like, is it going to be a member of the family? Is the limo car going to be automated? No, it's Goliath. And I love that it's only like Taiyo freaking out. I was like, once again, handling a lot of the strangeness, still freaking out to some extent, but once again, shown in protagonist manner, it's like, I just kind of accept the craziness as it is, you know? And then Kiyoshiro using his wires. It's just, once again, it's like, it's fascinating because once again, these seem to be superhuman abilities. So I wonder, like, is that like a supernatural weapon, or does he have abilities that make those wires? Because like if you look at it, it almost seems like it's spiraling around him, like around his hand, like it's almost like it's a living thing in itself. But maybe like he has supernatural powers that keeps it in that state. Like maybe the wires are extremely strong, but what adds layers to how they're utilized and how they can be used in such a regard is a supernatural ability. And maybe it isn't just a weapon; it's because it's his weapon. Just that visual too of like when he spread the wires out and they were spinning, creating almost like this giant net and sliced all those vehicles up and exploded. It's like, yeah, those guys didn't get sliced and diced. If this was like a Sinin like thing, they probably would have gotten sliced and diced. But because it's shown, we're just going to show them blowing up. It's like, oh, that's kind of, you know, it's like, oh yeah, like a lot of death without showing you death type of situation. So that situation is resolved, but now, once again, the bomber, we find out his name is Tamaya, who, once again, because of this whole social media thing, which I should also point out too, because of the whole social media thing, that's also what put a target on her back, because apparently you had, I think it was Kishiro who tweeted or basically messaged out that his little sister was engaged, and so many people reached out congratulating. But it's like I said, it's only been a couple hours since the marriage happened, and this is all. I mean, everyone utilizes this, so it's like, oh, we got to jump on this immediately. This is from fresh information. Let's find out who this husband is and try and use this to get to Mutsumi. So, but yeah, now the current person after him is Tamaya, a bomb expert, which kind of playing into that field of you can be enemies one day, allies the next, like just depending on money and circumstances, like people can flip at the dime. So I think that's going to be a recurring theme we have, especially when Kishiro is kind of like, right, the only person you can trust is yourself, but even then, that's kind of not even, that might not always be true. Which you're like, I wonder what, I mean, immediately my thought was, well, you mean that in a brainwashing type of sense or what? But we get the thematic elements of what that means later on. But yeah, he's going to have to protect Mutsumi. It's kind of up to him. It's like, I don't care what happens to you. You could die and blow up and be blown to smithereens. I don't care. Just make sure you protect her, because she gets stuck and she's marrying some person like you. He's just biting his tongue having to, because it's like, can't do anything to you now. He can torture you and make you, like I said last episode, make your life a living hell, but he can't kill you. Because of the family rule. But I love that scene when he came into school and he's just like dashing all over the place, especially when he goes to the back lockers and he's just like quickly opening everything, and everyone's just like, what's up with Taiyo? And he's keeping an eye on Mutsumi, like trying to make sure she's okay. And even his friends are being like, yo, are you okay? Like, yo, here's some chocolate. He ate it. And you're like, whoa. And he's like, almost looking at him like, what's the problem? They're like, nah, man, we called your name and like we gave you chocolate. Like, you've never accepted anything we've ever given you. And in that moment, he was just on autopilot, and it just kind of freaked him out, and it all kind of set in. He was like, oh shit, and then kind of went into panic mode, which I thought was interesting. I also love that this whole situation gave Taiyo a better insight into Matsumi. What was always there, he just wasn't aware of it. He's like, okay, hanging around her, I realized she never immediately eats anything that she was given, because it's like, right, you never know who's going to poison you, so you have to be wary of that stuff. She also makes sure never to go or be too far away from crowds of people, because people are less likely to try and kill you if there's other people around. Hitmen and spies and stuff like that, they're going to probably want to try and keep the casualties to a minimum, which, I mean, doesn't always mean anything when you literally have like someone shooting rocket launchers and firing multiple bullets at you in the middle of the road. We saw a couple vehicles kind of get shot up, and just, we're moving past that. But it is the thing of, even I think it was Kishiro had said at one point in time, it's like, well, we can cover that type of stuff up if anything happens. So I guess that's just kind of brushing off like, oh, how is this not more of an incident? It's like, well, we can make this stuff disappear, probably pay off the right people, do whatever we need to just make it not national news or draw like unwanted attention to ourselves. Probably like prevent our names or even our identities or even our faces kind of ending up on anything associated with said crime scenes. I think it'd be interesting. I don't know if this show would do that. This would be one of those series where you have someone from the outside investigating the stuff, but who doesn't, like maybe like a detective character. I wonder will the show approach it from that angle? Probably not, but I think that'd be an interesting approach to kind of add in a character to play that side of things, but it's probably like not necessary, but it's just kind of a thought process I had. Either way, going back to my before I went on a tangent, like the point is that Mitsumi, like so much of this, like her life has always been in danger, and he's like, she probably does some of this stuff subconsciously. Like it's probably been like how she's had to move throughout the world for so long that it's like, right, I just do it subconsciously now without even thinking about it. It comes second nature, which to survive in this world, survive her circumstances, it makes sense. And for him, he beats himself up because he's like, I was so busy, caught up in my own feelings, what I was going through. I was completely unaware of all that you were going through. You had so much on your plate already, and you still dedicated so much time to be there for me when I was going through it rough, when you already have it rough in yourself. You held so many responsibilities as the head of your family, And he feels kind of pathetic, and he's letting her down. Like, right, like, are you sure? Am I really the one for you? And I love her like hitting him in the head, being like, you're being too negative. She's like, you didn't choose me, I chose you. Because like anyone would think like, oh, it's crazy getting married into a spy family. Like everyone would think like marriage would be a crazy thing. But for her, it's like, I've always wanted you to be my husband. I was like, that's really sweet. Like I was bringing up last episode, she's always liked him. I think she's just always kind of been very kept it close to the vest. Like that first interaction they had, like present day, in the classroom of last episode, there was like I said, there was bits from that you could probably take away from like, oh, she likes him, that's why she's not trying to get close to any other guy, because she's close to the guy she already likes. And so it all works out when you're able to kind of just have like your best friend and childhood friend be your husband, and so it's a really sweet moment they have, but that immediately gets interrupted. I thought the nurse that popped up was initially going to be Tamaya. I thought like, oh, well, they kind of made it seem like it was a dude, but I was like, maybe it's actually a girl, because I don't know if they probably specified gender like beforehand, but I don't remember. So that's why I was like, oh, maybe that's, because I thought it was interesting, because you even notice like the sign says like, oh, the nurse is out, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and they kept reiterating it. So you're like, who the hell is the nurse? But then we find out like when Matsumi is talking to her friends in class, they're like, oh yeah, people talking about an alien ship, and you're like, okay, that's Shion's drone. Like someone that came out that was 3 foot tall, you're like, okay, that's Nano. And then like, oh, a trash can moving, Shinzo. This other person said like they saw someone that looked like him. Oh, maybe it was a twin. It's like, oh, Kinga. So I was like, right. I was like, especially when the person smiled, I was like, well, we see them later on. I was like, oh, that was Kinga in disguise. Because when Kinga and Nano were nearby when that room blew up, I guess that was Kiyoshiro's former office as vice principal. Maybe that's where they went. But I thought when that was all going down, I was like, oh, this whole thing's a test. There really is no Tamaya. I thought the whole thing was some like training test to test Tayo, but it's like, no, there really was a Tamaya. But the point is, and it was kind of an important lesson for Tayo to learn, it's, well, for one, like, he was so busy trying to maneuver around. It's like, wait, this person knows my exact moves. They knew to blow up my house. They knew to put the bomb in here. They knew our exact moves. And then he realized and looks at his jacket. He's like, right, this person put a bomb on me, a miniature bomb, because I would be the bomb that ends up taking out Matsumi. And pretty dastardly and genius plan. Tayo was willing to jump out the window. He didn't have, well, in the now massive hole in the wall, he jumps out. He had no plan, but luckily Kiyashiro shows up and is like, right, I might want you dead, but at the end of the day, you might not even be able to trust yourself sometimes, but the person you can trust is your family. The fact of the matter is, I might want to kill you, I might not like you, but I will die to protect you because we're family and we look after each other like that. So that showcases why everyone's here, not because of a training thing of like, that's what this is about. It's mainly because everyone was like, oh, let's join in on it. It's Tayo's first basic mission, and he comes out on top. He didn't have a solution here. I mean, I do love the whole thing of like, yeah, because Kiyashiro was dealing with like a hostage situation when it was all said and done. So I do like the Tamaya stuff was just kind of handled off screen, but it feels very poetic because it's just meant to reflect how the circumstances with Tayo and Mitsumi's situation is kind of like the forefront of this story, so that kind of took precedent. Like, obviously, Tamaya was just kind of like a stopgap of just that development of that story and kind of give him a different perspective on the situation that he's now a part of. So, I love that he kind of got Team Rocketed a little bit. They put the bomb on him. Kiyashiro like threw him out the window and they love that he's literally like live tweeting on social media being like, about to blowing up, I'm probably gonna die. It's like, probably not dead, or maybe those are the final messages. Like, I love that you're team rocketing it right now. You literally only have like a second left on the bomb and you're putting out those messages. So that's interesting. I'm like, we're just laughing about it and just like, it's very pretty, like the explosion from it. I also love when the first bomb went off at the school, like, oh, what was that? Oh, it's probably the people at the science lab. I had to get them like, okay, and we didn't see a single person come to investigate. Once again, we do have the entire family there. Well, I think the only person that wasn't there was Futaba, so, but everyone else there, I guess, to kind of keep everything in line so it doesn't draw unnecessary attention, so. But first mission that Tayo has now officially as a member of the family was a success, so that's interesting. And then the ending involves him moving into the home because, well, he doesn't have a house right now. So also, Tayo and Mutsumi being husband and wife makes a lot of sense for him to be living there with them too. So it's probably going to make it that much easier for Kishiro to torment you. But yeah, at least you have other people who won't just sit on the sideline when it comes to his BS. And we'll kind of have your back. I mean, that's the beauty of having this family in so many regards. So just continuing to be just like a lovable and just fun show in general. And I'm very excited to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.